So welcome to tonight's class. Um, we'll be okay on week 8. We'll continue from where we stopped last week. We discussed the part one. We discussed the short run and production factors. We discussed total product, average product. We discussed output and I explained what inputs to is. So we already have basic knowledge on what we are doing today again. So into our slide, introduction to cost concept. Okay, okay, cost is a crucial concept in business. So, so I refer to the expenditure incurred in producing goods and services. I guess this definition is very straightforward. Basically, when you're talking about when you hear the term cost, like oh what's up with this? Oh, like you know that they're actually asking you like okay how like how much do you go to achieve this thing? You know when you're talking about cost, you're not just talking about money. Yes, you're not just talking about money cost. You get you're talking about both the implicit and the explicit cost. You get so when you're talking about the cost. You're talking about cost in economics, you're talking about, okay, it could be opportunity cost, you get, I'll put together. Okay, so cost is a crucial concept in business economics and refers to the expenditure incurred in producing goods and services. Yes. And your expenditure could be your alternative for God. It could be the money you spend in the cost of production. And I define production was last week. I was like, okay, production is the conversion of raw materials to finished goods. And your definition of production is not complete, or production is not complete rather without utility. So when you're converting raw material from to finished good or semi-finished good, your aim is to create utility, satisfaction. We discussed that last week. So different type of cost helps in understanding business production and decision making here. So we have main types of cost. We have the variable cost. We have fixed cost, and we have fixed cost, variable cost, average cost, and marginal cost. Okay, so now the first cost that I was saying, now the first thing is fixed cost. When I talking about fixed cost, yeah, we have fixed cost is the cost is that cost that doesn't vary. It's not vary with the level of output. They are incurred when output. I'm sure we still remember a definition of output. And I said, if we're discussing, when you're talking about output, you're talking about your result. And I was like, okay, when you're talking about output, so output is because your goods or services that is produced by same. Yes. And I mentioned that, okay, when you're talking about input, you're talking about the factors of production that you like all the factors that you put together to make production come to pass or to make a good exit. So now, fixed costs are costs that do not vary with the level of output. They are incurred even when output is zero. I hope we're together. And example here, we have rent, we have salaries, we have depreciation of machinery. These costs are independent of production quantity in the short run. Yes. About cost, you're talking about your overhead cost. Yes. Fiscal can also be term overhead cost. Let me break it down now. Why we say it doesn't vary. If you rent an apartment, eh, or you get a space for your business, I hope we're together. Or you get a space for your business and you pay your rent. It's that place that you want for your business thing. Whether you produce, whether you decide to produce or let me your business, maybe your production is Zobo ahead. You rent an apartment for Zubomiki or a space for Zubomiki, and you already paying your rent. You already pay for the show. You already paid for the space. If you like, go produce 100 pieces of Zobo. Your rent is still your rent. It's not going to change the rent. It's not going to affect the rent. I hope we're together. If you like, come to shop today and expect to see. And not don't get yourself wrong with any form of production. The same rent that you have paid will not change. That's why it is fiscal. That's why rent is an example of fiscal. It means no matter the level of your output, no matter how much you invest in product, no matter how no matter how much your investment in production brings out, it is not affected by it. I hope I clear that. If you if you come to shop, if you not come to shop, the rent that you pay, you already paid it. Or the rent that you will pay, it is the same thing that you pay. You get. You not tell your landlord that I didn't make Zobo today. So because of that, you're going to do that for my rent. I hope it's making sense. And okay, we have salary, yeah, we have the position of machinery. Yes. Your salary. If you have agreement with your staff that okay, every month I'll be paying you guys 15,000 every month. I'm going to pay you guys, I'm going to pay you 10,000, I'm going to pay you 1 million. Whether you get to make sales, whether you get to make a lot of production, and there's a lot of output or not, you still have to pay on that agreement you get. And yeah, the precision of machinery is it or it's just keep a machine in store. Of course, the fact that it's no longer new, it's just there. It's definitely going to depreciate. You get. Okay. So this are independent of production quantity in the short run. Get to know more about short run of cost. So another thing that is not in this slide that I want to add is the formula for calculating your fixed cost. And I'm talking about fixed cost. When I'm talking about fixed cost, I have questions to solve. Your fixed cost is total cost minus variable cost. Okay. I don't know why they didn't even start from but sure, it's fine. I hope we are clear on this on this explanation. We are very good with it. So now our second course, second type of course we're going to discuss like variable cost. So yeah, it says cost that varies with the level of output. As production increases, this cost increases. Or this cost increase. Example, raw materials, hourly wages, utility based on production, and okay, these costs are directly tied to the level of output in the short term. Yeah, honestly. When talk about variable costs, the more you produce, the more your variable cost increases. The more quantity of cake you want, the how big you want your cake to be, or how big you want your cake is how much the quantity of sugar you put. You can't want to bake or you can't want to work with 10 cups of flour and you want to bake cake or you want to fry chin chin. 10 cups of flour and then okay maybe the norms is that okay when you want to use 10 cups of flour you are going to use 2 cups of sugar. If you are going to increase from 10 cups to from 10 cups of flour to maybe like 15 cups, of course you should know that your cups of sugar will definitely increase. You get that means you increase to like 3 cups. You get and again, maybe okay, you are producing 100 pieces of zobo and you want to increase it. Of course, you had more zobo leaf, you get. So your variable cost is tied to the level of output in the short term. If you want more, you put more. It says raw material. Yes, that's an example that I just made. You increase it. If you want more output, more results, you increase your materials. It's not the same quantity that you use for 50 pieces that you want to use for 200 pieces. Hourly wages, yes. There are wages. There are actually types of wages. All pay wages. Some pay time based, some peak based. When it gets to wages, probably. So when you're talking about time based of payment, okay, there's an agreement that if you work for an hour, you're going to get 10K. Of course, if you want if you want to have 20K, you work for more hours. And if you want maybe in 1 hour, what you're going to produce is 50 pieces. And you desire to have maybe 150 output, you definitely increase your worker from 1 to like 3 hours. You get then your payment too increases. Utility based on production, that satisfaction based on production also vary with your with the result of production or with the level of your production. So this costs are directly tied to the level of output in the short run. If you want more output, you invest in more. I hope this makes sense. And okay, the one that you didn't see, I would love us to familiarize ourselves with the graph. Hopefully, we have the privilege to discuss on our graph something. If you have any question, you can just send the graphs and then we'll explain. So now, the costs are directly tied to the level of production. Okay, I want to talk about the formula where when you want to calculate your variable cost. The other time I said your fixed cost is total cost minus variable cost. So now you want to make your variable cost the subject of formula. You get using the same function. So now your variable cost will come to the other side, and then your variable cost will be total cost minus fixed cost. I hope you got that. Okay, so we move to the next slide, which is the average cost. When we are talking about the average cost, we're talking about your total cost divided by the quantity of output produced. And last week, in our last class rather, I explained average based on the term. Like okay, when you hear the word average, you're talking about half. You're talking about half, like sharing something equal or talking about half of it. So for you to get average cost, average revenue, average whatever you're looking for, you are dividing that totality of that thing. Whether of that concept they are discussing, whether it's revenue or you're discussing cost or whatever concept you're discussing, you are dividing it by the output that you're giving, whether quantity, whether units or whatever. You get. So when we're talking about average cost, we're talking about the cost per unit of output. That means you want to know what it costs you, what your cost of production is for individual goods that you produce. By the time you divide, okay, let's use the slide. Average cost, total cost divided by the quantity of output produced. Of course, by the time you divide your total cost by your output, you're definitely going to get what that value, like each value of that product, get what their value is. So now we have an example here. If the total cost is 100 and 50 units are produced, your average cost will be what? That will be 100 divided by 50. That's 2 per unit. Don't worry, I have more questions there. So let's just do with this side then. When I'm done with all the types of costs that we have here, do now start working. I will start solving some questions. Okay, so average cost a business assess per unit cost in production. You know that, oh, when I produce 100 Zobo, I use 50, okay, 5,000 naira was my total cost in producing Zobo. And then I produce 100 units. I produce 100 pieces. If I want to get the cost, the individual cost, the amount one Zobo cost me, I'll just 5,000 divided by 100, and then I'll get 50. That means my cost of production, my average cost of production for each Zobo, my cost for each Zobo is 15 naira. You get? I hope it makes sense. Okay, so now we're moving to marginal cost. And in our previous classes, I established that whenever you hear the word marginal, we're talking about addition. We're talking about extra. Okay, so the additional cost incurred by producing one more unit of output. And I also established that when you're talking about marginal, you're talking about change. Yeah, like you're talking about changes. You're talking about changes in one. You're comparing the change. You get, like, okay, you're talking about okay, this marginal cost. You're talking about your change in total cost and your change in the quantity. And if it's about revenue, you're talking about the change in revenue by change in quantity. And I said it, when we talk about um elasticity, should I go this way? No, let's just continue with this slide. We'll soon get there. So let's jump. Let's just go with the slide. Okay, so marginal cost, the additional cost incurred by producing one more unit of output. And we have a formula here. It is change in total cost divided by change in quantity. So we have an example here. If total cost increases from $100 to 120, when production increases from 50 to um 51. One thing I said in our last class was, I mean, in our previous classes and in our last class specifically too, I said when you're dealing with a marginal whatever, you identify the new one and you identify the old one. You identify where you are coming from and where you are going to. I mean, where you are coming from and where you are. You get. So you know that, okay, this is my T1, or this is my T2, or this is my Q1, and or this is my Q2. And using them two or one. Of course, you should know one comes before two. So when you're talking about one, you're talking about the old one. When you're talking about the two, you're talking about the new one. You get. So yeah, when we say, okay, we are talking about change in total cost, that means our old cost and our new cost. Yeah, it says if total cost increases from 100 to $120, that means our old cost was 100. Then our new total cost is 120. And if you want to, when you want to solve for your change, you say your new minus old. That's your T2, TC2 minus your TC1. You get. So now your new minus old, our new value is 120, our new total cost is 120, and our old total cost is 100. Then you divide it by, okay, when production increases from 50 to 51, that means it was 50 before and now it's 51. So our new is 51 and then our old is 50. So 120 minus 100 will give us 20, and then 51 minus 100 will give us 1. So 20 divided by 1 will give us $2. That's how they got the 20 here. I hope we are together. So marginal cost is critical for determining the optimal level of production. Okay, so I said I have some questions on total cost, average cost, and marginal cost. So if you have to look for marginal cost, what did I say? I said we're going to say, okay, you're changing total cost over change in quantity. Or should we leave maybe after the class? Then we can talk about the question. So let's continue. Okay, so now in short run versus long run cost score. Last class, sorry, last class we discussed short run versus long run production cost. Yes, we discussed production. We talked more about production in the last class. So short run cost, in the short run, at least one factor of production is fixed. Firms can only adjust to variable input. And I said something about short run. I said is something you can get done within a short interval, just like me. Yes. That's why when we talk about the short run of production, we talk about, okay, one at least one factor of production is fixed. And I said that that factor of production that was fixed in my explanation was Peter. Why labor varies. And I say why labor varies because it is flexible. You can easily change it. You can easily get more staff. You can easily get more hands to work compared to you raising capital in a business. You get. Okay, so short run cost. In the short run, at least one factor of production is fixed. Firm can only adjust variable inputs. So long run cost. In the long run, all factors of production can be varied. That means you have more time. You can expand your business. You can decide to increase your capital. You can decide to um, move from one building to the other. You can you can move to a new apartment. You know that can be achieved in a short run. You have to make plans for it. So now, in the long run, you can actually do all of this. The run of factors of production can be varied. It's not just the ones that are flexible like labor. You get can change the scales of their operation. Okay, can be varied and firms can change the scale of their operation. Yes. So short run cost curve are U-shaped due to law of diminishing return, while long run cost curve are more flexible and typically decline as firms increases output. We discussed diminishing return in our last class. And short run cost curve increase cost, total fixed cost, total variable cost, average cost, and marginal cost. We discussed all of this. Law of diminishing returns, as more of a variable input labor is added to a fixed input, the additional output produced marginal products will eventually decrease. and we explain that, we break that down in our last slide. As more of variable inputs labor is added to fixed input, the additional output produced will eventually decrease. But okay, but at first there'll be there'll be a significant increase. You get, so when there is now more, when there's now more increment, we are getting more staff, we are getting more earned. It's not like the business, or it's not like the volume of work has increased. We are getting more people. Of course, the production, the output will definitely decrease. So that's what this just implies. Like as more of variable input is added to fixed input, each capital, the additional output produced, marginal product will eventually decrease. Okay, if labor is added to a factory with limited machinery, initially output increases, but over time it drops. Yes, that was what I just tried to explain. If you employ more workers, and we actually had perfect examples that we did in the last class. If you employ more workers with limited machinery, after maybe we have 10 people. Yes, I guess that was the example I used last class. You have 10 people producing 90 units of a day, and now you employ 5 more people. Then there's 50 units increment. You see that there's actually a significant increment. Like we can feel it. Now we are having 140 output. Meaning those people that we just employ, each of them give us 10 units, like 10 more units to get. But the former people, they were just like 9 units to get. But when you increase the number of labor again, but same volume of work, it then still added more workers. Now we now employ maybe like six to to the sixth to the seventh person to the work, and the increment we have is now, there's now two more people added to the business, so added to the workforce is now 10 compared to when we added five the initial set of people that we added. It boosted. We saw their impact. It was felt. But when more is added, there is increment, but it's not like how it is. So that means it is decreasing. Our level of output is decreasing compared to what it was at first. I hope it makes sense. So long run cost curve. Long run average cost. Long run average cost curve is typically U-shaped and represent the lowest possible cost for each level of output where all inputs are variable. In the long run, firms can adjust all their inputs and scale up or down, achieving more efficient production. In the long run, firm can adjust all inputs. It's not like one should be fixed or one should be fixed. Unlike in the short run, you cannot you cannot adjust all your inputs in the short run. But in the long run, you have planned for it. It's just like the name, like the term. You right, it is in the long run. It's not something you want to achieve in a short period of time. You already planned for it. So you can achieve whatever. You can adjust whatever you are investing in your business. Yeah, putting in your business. In the long run, you can achieve a lot. In the long run, you can change your venue. In the long run, you can increase your capital. You can enlarge. Get, so there is okay. You could achieve more and efficient production. In the long run, if one can invest in more advanced technology or a larger factory to reduce cost per unit. Of course, if there's bulk purchase of bulk production, the cost of producing 100 100 units compared to 1,000. Maybe you need how will I make it like now? Wait, any question? Okay. Maybe you need like 10 cups. Okay, let me use rice. Yes. When I learned to cook rice, jollof rice, and then I was told that if I want to prepare my first attempt for cooking jollof rice, I was so scared. I don't want any error to happen. So I cook like maybe 4 cups of rice or 5 cups. Then I just use one cube. Yes, I get cube that I use. And I came back because my stock now, my chicken, like the stock. I was like, the stock already. I put 2 cubes in my stock, so that should be enough for the all of what I was preparing. And I was just trying to give good reasons or give excuses for my food. But I knew that me, I was scared. But when I tasted the food, it's not like it's not bad. It's not like you like salt is too much, maggi is too much, the seasonings are too much. No. And then you feel like something is not just enough. You get. So the person who taught me was for as at least that was what he said. If I want to prepare 1 cup, that will have 2 cubes of maggi. And then it was not like, boy, if you want to prepare 2 cups, instead of adding 4 cubes of maggi, you could actually add three. I hope I'm making sense. In the long run, a firm can invest in more advanced part. Okay, what am I even trying to? Okay, no, no, no. In the long run, firm can adjust all its skills. In the long run, it can invest in more advanced technology or a yes. This is the part I'm trying to say. A larger factory to reduce cost per unit. Now, if I'm going to prepare 2 cups of rice, I'm going to use 3 cubes of Maggi. And I'm going to prepare 1 cup of rice. I'm going to use 2 cubes of Maggi. Used to by preparing 2 cups of rice, it has reduced my cost because I'm going to buy those cubes of Maggi. The money I'm going to use to buy, maybe 1 cube is 15 naira. So I'm going to buy 100 naira for just 1 cup. I'm buying 150 for 2 cups instead of 200. You see that my costs have reduced. The cost per unit have reduced. So that's this part. I just use that one as an example so we can relate to it. I hope we got it. So when there's a larger factory or there's an increase in your production level, it will reduce the cost per unit. So now we are in economy of sales. Okay, so when you're talking about economics of sales, you're basically talking about cost advantage. So economies of scale, advantage that firms experience when they increase the scale of production, leading to decrease in average cost. Types of economy of scales. We have internal economy of scale. This is achieved within the firm, e.g., bulk buying, specialization, improved efficiency. And we have external economic of scale, and it is achieved through industry-wide growth, e.g., improved technology and the likes. So now let's take it again. So when you talk about economics of skills. Actually, I'm talking about when fame, okay, or when your output, the results increase. When output increases at a faster rate than its input, when you can produce more with less cost, when you can produce more of good with lower cost of production, that's economy of scale. Cost advantage. When you consider your cost of production and then you now see that okay, I can use 10,000 to cook for 50 people than you using that same 10,000 to buy ah, 50 people 10,000 for exaggerated. You can use 10,000 to cook for maybe 20 people. And if you go out and you just want to eat out, you could spend that 10,000 even on yourself. I hope we are getting the example. So when you consider the cost advantage, you'll be like, I rather cook for whole of these people. You get. So if this you have compared your price, you've compared your price, and you want to maximize, you want to increase your level of output. So that's what economy of is basically about. It's basically about cost advantage. You are reducing cost and you are getting more product. Your cost of production is less, and then you are getting more output. You are getting more results. It's not on. You are not spending unnecessarily before you achieve more product or before you achieve more production. And this can happen when there is specialization. The second point, like when there's specialization, because when people are specialized in a field, it tends to produce more. When this is a specialty, they don't need to employ more people before they get more results. You already know how you can do it. You get. You already know how you can get that fast result. I hope we're together. And when you talk about bulk buying too, when you buy in bulk compared to buying in units, when you buy in bulk, you save costs that way. Don't forget economics of scale is about cost advantage. When you buy in bulk, you reduce your cost. You get improved efficiency. I explained the term efficiency and okay, how I'll go about it was I was like efficiency of labor. They are talking about when you can produce more, like when you can produce more, when there's more production, when there's an increment in your output without compromising your quality. When there's an increased quantity without compromising your quality, that's efficiency. So improved efficiency. And we're talking about external economies achieved through industry-wide growth. Okay, this is on a larger scale, not just cost advantage within. You know, when you're talking about internal, you're talking about within. You're talking about external. You're talking about outside. You're talking about more, not just at the local level or at just your firm level alone. You get. So improve technology. That one will increase your economy of sales of your economy of skills, because by the time you invest in technology, you get to use machine, you get to use robot in your production. Your cost of paying 100 people, you already got just one robot, and to even do base to power 10 of what they will do. You get it. So this economy of skills occurs when a firm becomes too large and average cost starts to rise due to inefficiency. I hope I not emphasize on this average cost again when I got to the economy of skills. When we discussed about average cost, we established that that's cost per unit too. You know, your average cost is your total cost divided by quantity. That's cost per unit. Like the cost of each unit of the goods, the cost of individual, the cost of one unit of the goods. Okay, so when a firm becomes too large, an average cost starts to rise due to inefficiency. When there is growth, when there's expansion, when we have a lot of people, or the business is now enlarged, is now so big, we can't even get to know all of ourselves. There's no proper communication level. You definitely spend unnecessarily, because there's no good flow of information, inefficiency, the place is overcrowded. This one is doing but in his own angle, that one is doing but in his own angle. I'm just trying to break this thing down so we can relate to it and understand. A large company may suffer from slower decision making and increased overhead costs, leading to higher per unit costs. Do we remember what I actually referred as the other type of cost, the one I referred as overhead cost? Okay, I'll take it again. I said our fixed cost is also known as overhead cost. In case you forgot that, I reminded us. The fixed cost is that cost that does not change no matter the level of our output. So now, a large company may suffer from slower decision making and increased overhead costs. We have invested in our company at the wrong no, at the long run, sorry, at the long run. And now we have more staff, we have more people, we have enough and everything. We feel everything should be set and building. But the managerial level, we could not manage our people well. We couldn't put our staff together. There'll be this economy of skills. There will be increments in our cost. We won't be able to save costs. We will spend unnecessarily. So return to skill. Return to skill refers to change in output resulting from a proportional increase in all input. I reminded us what output is. Output is the result of our production. I input are the factors that we contributed in production, like our factors of production. Our labor is an input, the land is an input, the entrepreneur, land, labor, entrepreneur, and okay, don't worry. I remember the fourth one. So increasing return to skill, we have types of increasing return. So basically, let me explain this return to skills. Like, is the relationship that is between quantity of input and the quantity of output. So when I talk about return to skills, you're talking about the relationship between the quantity of input, the quantity of your investment, and the quantity of your result. So and we have types of return to skill. That's why we have the increasing return to skill. Yeah, your output increases by a greater proportion than the input by the increase in input. The result you get, that means the result you get is more than the input of factors of production you put. And if you want to, okay, when you want to achieve this, there must be some level of technology advancement to achieve. Thank you. To achieve greater or to achieve increments in your output compared to your investment, compared to the input you get. There must be some things that must have been in place. It must be to achieve this, to achieve increasing returns to skill, technology advancement aids it, specialization aids it, and division of labor. When you have, okay, this person is doing this person is taking this aspect, that person is taking this aspect, achieve one goal. This will help us get to that goal on time than one person on it. So this will definitely increase our return to scale. Don't forget that we established that return to scale is the relationship between the quantity of our input and the quantity of our output. So when you talk about constant return to scale, this is when your output increase as the same rate as your input increase. Output increase at same rate as your input increase. That means the more the level of input that you have, the level of labor that you have is the level of your output. But you don't need any specialization here so much. Like, it's just like you repeating a pattern. Oh, um we okay, fashion designers, they have there are some people that actually arrange stone on clothes. But now you already have a ready made, you already have a model, you already have a design that you want to replicate. Your own is just to paste it, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste, copy and paste. Like, you are just repeating an existing process. You're just repeating, you're just carrying, oh, this stone is already ready made. You don't have, it's not your idea. You're not the one trying to fit in this. Okay, on the neckline I'm doing this, on the bust I'm doing this. No, you're just copying and pasting it. So your output increases at the same rate of input. So now we have this decreasing return to scale. When I talk about decreasing return to scale, that means your output increases at a lower input. That's when there's coordination problem or inefficiency. Okay, so now yeah, moving to revenue concept. Oh Lord. Okay, so revenue concept. I am in one of our classes. We've discussed the revenue, and I established that when you're talking about revenue, you're talking about income. It's just like this time now.
بئس للظالمين بدلا ما أشهدتهم خلق السماوات والأرض
Sorry, you're
وما
disturbing
خلق
the class.
أنفسهم وما
Okay.
كنت متخذ
We're talking
المضل.
about revenue, the term revenue. Thank you. We're talking about the term revenue. You're talking about income. And yeah, outside just move straight up pin to the types that we have total revenue. We talk about the total revenue, we talk about total income a firm received from selling its output. The total money you make from selling your product is your total revenue, is your total income. And how you get to know the amount that you have made from your sales is that the number of goods you carried out. You carry are you together? You carry 50 zobo out. And for each zobo, you are selling it 100 naira. That means 50 times 100. Your total revenue, your total income, the total money that you have will be 5,000. I hope we're together. And we're talking about average revenue, the revenue per unit of output. Yes, just like average cost, your cost per unit. So average revenue, excuse me, average revenue, the revenue per unit of output. Here you say your total revenue divided by your quantity. Yeah, I established that you're talking about half. And some of the times your average revenue could just be the price. If you have questions like that. And now we have marginal revenue. Like I said, anywhere you hear the word marginal, you're talking about additional, you're talking about extra. The extra one, marginal revenue, marginal cost, marginal whatever. You're talking about additional. Someone saying something. Okay, so yeah, we are in marginal revenue. The additional revenue gained from selling one more unit. No marginal utility is additional utility that is derived from consuming one more unit. So now we have our marginal revenue. Marginal revenue gained from selling one more unit of output. Example, if a firm sells 100 units at, oh, this is a question for total revenue. Don't worry. Let's question for marginal revenue here. So let's move to the next slide. Oh, Jesus. Revenue and elasticity linkage. When you're talking about linkage, you're talking about the relationship. You're talking about what they have in common, like bringing them together. Linkage. Yeah, the points that you could relate to them, not just in revenue and elasticity. Literally, like I talk about the literal meaning of linkage. That's what I'm trying to establish here. Okay, so price elasticity of demand. I'm sure we still remember elasticity of demand when we talk about um, the degree of responsiveness of change in quantity demanded as a result of change in price. How your change, how your change in price affects your change in quantity demanded. So and we have okay, if price elasticity.
Àwọn nẹ́tíwọ́ọ̀kì mi ò dáa o.
I don't know. Maybe 36 minutes. But let's continue. I'm all ears if there's any question. Okay. elasticity demand plays a key role in determining revenue. If demand is elastic, that means if the coefficient of your demand when you're just solving the question is elastic, that means there's a decrease in price. That means the decrease in price, the increase revenue. Let me explain that. I, I hope we still remember what our elastic demand is. Instead, elastic demand is when percentage change in price leads to greater percentage change in quantity demanded. I hope we still remember that part in our previous classes when we discussed elasticity. Okay, so now let me explain this linkage now. It says that price elasticity of demand plays a key role. If demand is elastic, when there's a decrease in price, what happens? When there's a decrease in price, of course, our quantity demanded will increase. When there is a decrease, when there's a reduction in price, our quantity demanded will increase. Our quantity demand will increase. So if there is increase in quantity demand for goods, of course, your revenue, your income, the money you will make will increase. That's what this first point is saying. I hope we are together. And then you're talking about inelastic demand. Inelastic demand is when inelastic demand is when a percentage change in price leads to lesser, or we say leads to lower percentage change in quantity demanded, and the coefficient is less than 1. So when there's decrease in price, and there's a decrease in price, there will be decrease in revenue. Why? Why is why is it that a decrease in price in this inelastic demand will lead to a decrease in revenue? Okay, for luxury goods. For luxury goods, when there's decrease in price, of course people will actually buy more. But the decrease in revenue here outrightly or like is very, 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 very low. Yeah. Not like it's outrightly very, 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 very low. But when there's a decrease in price, total revenue will definitely decrease in inelastic. You know that when you are saying um your demand is inelastic, basically it's not following the law of demand. In this sense, so listen no before you get everything confused. Like, okay, the greater the higher the price, the higher the price, the lower the quantity demanded. And lower the price, the lower the price, the higher the quantity demanded. But yeah, when it's inelastic, for example, someone that is addicted, even if your price is like, let it be higher than that, they will still demand for it. You get? I hope we are getting this. Okay. No. For elastic demand, lowering prices increase total revenue. And for inelastic demand, lowering price decreases total revenue. Okay, so key concepts recap and exam tips. Because without fixed, okay, just like summary, fixed variable, average, and marginal cost helps in understanding production behavior. Short run versus long run curve illustrates how costs behave with change in output and time. Economy of scales and return to scales highlight the importance of efficiency in production. Yes. Linkage between revenue and elasticity helps in determining optimum pricing strategies. Okay, so let's take the case tonight. We've been able to discuss cost concepts, short run versus long run cost curve, economies of scales and revenue and elasticity. We've established the definition of cost as expenses or expenditure incurred in producing goods and services. We've discussed the type, we talk about fixed costs, and I said fixed cost is also known as the variable is also known as the overhead cost. We have our variable cost which varies, like which varies with our production. The higher our total cost, the higher the variable cost. And we have our average cost, which is cost per unit. We have our marginal cost, which is our extra cost. Fixed costs do not vary with the level of output. I said that already. Example of fixed costs, we have rent, we have salaries. I established that. I said when you rent an apartment for your production, whether you make production in that place or not, you are still going to pay same amount of rent, or you already paid the same amount of rent. You won't tell your landlord that, oh, I didn't make production here. If you like, lock the shop for a year. It's still the rent that you pay. If you like, start producing more. Expand your knowledge, get more workers, do whatever you like. You are still going to pay same rent. So these costs are independent of production quantity in the short run. Variable costs that varies with the level of output. As production increases, this cost increases. These costs are directly tied to the level of output in the short run. Average cost, so that's total cost divided by the quantity of output. And it helps business assess per unit cost in production. It helps you know, okay, what each good costs you. Marginal cost is the additional cost incurred by producing one more unit of output. Marginal cost is critical for determining the optimal level of production. The short run versus long run curve. We've explained that in the short run, at least one factor of production is fixed. Firms can only adjust variable input. The long run cost, in the long run, all factors of production can be varied, and firms can change the scales of their operation. The curve is U-shaped. Short run cost curve includes total cost, fixed cost, total fixed cost, total variable cost, average cost, marginal cost, and we discussed that law of diminishing return as law of variable input as variable is added to a fixed input capital, the additional output produced marginal products will eventually decrease. A perfect example here, if labor is added to a factory with limited machinery, initially output increases. Yes, I made example of adding, okay, we having 10 people working before, having 90 units of output. Then we added two more people, we added five more people, then we have 50 units of output. Of course, there's a significant increment. Then over time, we added six, seven more people. Then we have 20 units. The level of output drop. I mean, we have 10 units. The level of output drops. You get. Okay, the long run curve, yes, is also typically U-shaped. In the long run, a firm can invest in more advanced technology or a larger factory to reduce cost per unit. When there is larger production, when you produce on a large scale, you reduce your cost of production. Economic of sales, I said economy of sales emphasizes on cost advantage. And we have types of economy of scales. We have internal economics and we have external economics. We have this economy of this sorry, this economy of skills. This is when firm become big, too large and average cost start to rise due to inefficiency. And don't forget our average cost is cost per unit. That means the cost that they are investing now in producing 1 unit of goods has increased. They are paying more workers now, and more workers they are not doing more job. Like they are not being effective. Like their impact are not significantly felt. So now we are paying more of average cost because all this will add to our total cost. And by the time we divide our total cost by our output, of course our average cost will increase. And this is based on and this is as a result of inefficiency or bad attitude to work. A large company may suffer from slower decision making and increased overhead costs, leading to higher per unit cost. Overhead costs, that's our fixed cost. Return to scales refers to change in output resulting from a proportional increase in inputs, and I established that when you're talking about return to scales, we are talking about the relationship between the quantity between the quantity of our inputs and our output. And instead, we have different types of return to scales. We have increasing return to scales. We have constant return to scales. We have decreasing return to scales. Yeah, increasing return to scales. You say when your output is greater than the input, then that means when your result, when your production, when the result of your production is more than your investment, is more than the factors of production that you are putting at work, there will be an increase in return of our in return to skills. And I said this can be achieved as okay when there's specialization, when there's division of labor, when there's advanced technology. This will help you. You will not add, you don't have to put so much to achieve a lot. That was why I made an example of okay, maybe you have robots making production that instead of it will even reduce the cost. Instead of you paying 100 people, and yet their effects will be insignificant compared to that of robots. Even the rest of our 10 of what all 100 of them will do. I said that too. And when you're talking about constant return to tears, I was like, okay, your output increase by the same rate your inputs increase. Like this is just you doing copy and paste. Like you're just repeating same production process and decreasing return to scale. Yeah, I said okay. When the output increase as a lower input, like when there is lower input for your output increase, this is as a result of inefficiency. Then we discuss revenue concept. I established that again that when you hear the word revenue, we're talking about income. So your total revenue, that's the total income a firm receive from selling its output. That's the total money you make from selling your goods. And I said if you go out with 50 units of Zobo and you're selling each for 100 naira, your total revenue, the total income, your total money that you have to come home with is 5,000. That will be 50 multiplied by 100. And our average revenue, that's revenue per unit of output, that's your total revenue divided by quantity. And in some cases, your average revenue is the same thing as the price. But it's not in the slide though. I'm just telling us. Marginal revenue, the additional revenue gained from selling one more unit of output. And then we talk about revenue elasticity linkage. That's comparing like how they interact, like how where they meet, where you can relate them to the other. That okay, price elasticity of demand plays a key role. If demand is elastic, a decrease in price will increase your revenue. And if your demand is inelastic, a decrease in price will decrease your revenue. And we talk about total revenue. Okay, we decrease your total revenue. And that's all we discussed tonight. I hope we are good. Okay. Is there any question?